Thank you, Lord, for your testimonial. Now we go to the Lionfish and just make some introduction. And then I would like to have our friend Theo from KPMG that is worked in order to give us some solution and some idea how we could obtain that Greece could become really a lead country to obtain, to contrast, and to reduce the risk of the lionfish. Just for the audience, the lionfish in Mediterranean Sea, he came from the Red Sea. Why he comes, and why it just came in the last 3 or 4 years, it is that before the temperature of Mediterranean Sea, it was not enough higher for a lionfish. I'm not a professional diver, but when I make some snorkeling in Red Sea, in Borneo, in Indonesia, in Maldives, when I saw a lionfish, it was just a pleasure. It's very nice to see, but you see not few of them. You don't see a colony of lionfish. And what happens that why? It is very simple that lionfish has other predator in Red Sea they could eat, and the biodiversity is done and not a problem. And the major, there are 3 fish, that is the shark, the grouper, and some turtle. In order to reduce the quantity of lionfish in Mediterranean Sea, to import more shark is not the best solution, because I don't believe that we would like to have more shark. The grouper, it is a grouper that doesn't have the same DNA that he has in Indonesia. It doesn't work. So the way to reduce it, it is first one to have a training for the fishermen, because today the fishermen are scared about lionfish. Secondly, to train how to clean it, because also there are some, well, not some, but quite a lot of people believe that lionfish, it is, you can die when you touch lionfish. It's not true at all. You have a pain, but lionfish is not like a jellyfish you see around. Normally, lionfish stay quiet near the rocks, and if you're not so stupid to put a hand on him, it doesn't beat you. So the lionfish, it is a quiet, but the big point is they doesn't have other predator. And just to be aware that a lionfish, a female, he produces 2 million eggs by year. And if just 1% survive, are 20,000 lionfish coming from one female. The lionfish eating 5 times their weight every day. And when we have caught them, it was very interesting that we saw inside one lionfish a small baby of Coloctypa, baby. So just how, and all the small fish, small octopodia, small anchoas, not only the baby of Fagri, baby of different, they will eating. And I believe that one of our objectives is not to wait to have a fire in our back and react, but react earlier. And we have an advantage that we have done a good partnership with the Foundation of Prince Albert of Monaco, because it's very eager to try to conserve biodiversity. And in this way, I believe that we could make an action. Just to show the example, in Italy, we had a big problem with blue crab. Blue crab arrive by some boat from China. They arrive in the Adriatic Sea when there is a lot of cultivation of mussel and clams. And the point is the mussel and clams are very, very for the blue crab, and they eat everything. The lionfish eat all around Mediterranean, not only mussel and clams. The reason why they believe it is a much bigger problem. In Italy, the KPMG is one of the 4 big consultant companies for the government, also here in Greece. They make a study, and they obtain from European Union 12 million just to protect the fishermen and to a promotion how to eat the blue crab. And just to fix some figure, if the blue crab represents 10% of the problem lionfish, no, nothing. It means that the money that we need for lionfish is much higher. And I believe that it was done a very good study. I believe it is good to have the study that could be presented now by KPMG, now to understand, and it is something that must be on country level. It must be, in Italy it was done by Giorgia Meloni and by the Minister Lollo Brigida, as the Minister of the Agricultural, and both of them, they stamp, and with KPMG study, they obtained to have the 12 million in 3 months. So here it is why, and due to the fact that the Peloponnese is a land in which we have a Lionfish. In Lionfish now, we fish every day around 80 lionfish. 3 years ago, I found the first one, 3 years ago, just in this area.
Hello, I will present together with Enrico. This presentation is very short and it will be available on your website in 2 languages. What we would like to show you today is mostly the problem, what has happened in other countries, what the European Commission stands for, because it does provide funds throughout Europe in order to tackle this issue. KPMG, let me introduce myself. I'm Theodossios Tompras. I work for KPMG. I was approached by Enrico precisely because KPMG was exposed to various similar projects in Italy. I'm not going to go into further detail. It's a 10-minute presentation. As Enrico mentioned before, the first viewings of lionfish in Eastern Mediterranean were around 2013. The problem began with the Mediterranean basin around Israel, then Cyprus followed, and now we see large populations after 2016-2017 in the Aegean and in colder waters such as the Adriatic Sea. So now this is a problem that's relevant to the entire Eastern Mediterranean. It's not only about Egypt or Cyprus. And it's not a problem that will be limited or restricted due to the temperature of water, so it won't stay just in warm waters. As Enrico mentioned, the most important problem is the aggressive growth of the populations of lionfish. They increase exponentially to the detriment of other species because there is no predator because of the spines, and they eat all baby fish. And people don't fish it even though it can be eaten. It is an edible fish, and if you've tasted, I think it's really tasty as well. So if somebody fishes it and knows how to get rid of the spines, then it can be used for chemical industry, but also in F&B businesses. I wanted to do today's presentation together with Miss Magda Krokida from the National Technical University, and I wanted to say that it has some substances that can be used in the chemical industry, in the cosmetics. So it is a fish that can be fished, it should be fished, and it can be used for many different uses. So yes, there might be a problem because it is an invasive species, but at the same time it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity for the fishing industry, for restaurants and chemical industry alike. Talking about the need for action, let me say that yes, indeed, we have to preserve the biodiversity of fishes. We have to preserve the financial activity of the primary sector, meaning the fishermen, but at the same time, there are some issues related to human safety. Since it is an invading species, in the future we won't be able to preserve the natural fishing areas. This problem has been identified by the EU since 2014, and there are obligations for member states, including Greece, to undertake action against such species such as lionfish and Lagocephalus, toadfish. So we need to control the population. In order to show you precisely what I was talking about, already since October 2014, under Regulation 1143, the European Commission set rules, and 2 years later, in 2016, also issued the first list of such species, and lionfish was included. In 2016, it was just becoming evident in the Greek territorial waters. Are there case studies and best practices from other countries? The first step is, of course, awareness raising. Understand that there is a problem. Understand the impact on biodiversity and financial activity. Because take into account that fishing activities are under threat because of the lionfish. And having raised an awareness, then see how we can handle this problem. There was a case study in Cyprus and EU-funded action. This action was not at a very big scale, but they started monitoring the populations to see how they grow and then see what kind of measures can be taken in order to constrain them. You can see a table on the screen from the Plymouth University study. It was presented in Monaco, and there are a series of actions. The first thing to do is to monitor the populations in order to grasp the size of the problem. Secondly, inform everybody that these species have to be fished, have to be used in order not to allow the population to overgrow. And then targeted fishing, either using spearfishing, free diving, or by providing specific incentives for professional fishermen. And there is a question about the availability of public funds. Should we allocate public funds but not waste them? Because if you just subsidy this type of fishing, are public funds enough to do this on the long term? Or should we find a smarter way? And we should also raise awareness not among fishermen only, but also consumers, restaurant owners. Customers should be aware of that as well. We shouldn't be afraid to eat it. We should also mobilize the industry, the chemical industry, the cosmetics industry. Everyone who can get derivatives from lionfish and use it, byproducts. Because if the industry is engaged in the effort, then the fishermen will fish it if the industry asks for it. Here are some indicative actions by the European Commission, EU-funded actions. Enrico talked about it. It's a live program. I'm not going to go into detail, but even under the fish farming and fishing In Greece, there were some studies about invading species and their use as food and measures to control their population. So the problem has been identified, and the European Commission allocates funds for us to handle this problem. So let's sit down and see which specific actions can be funded, starting from the monitoring of populations. To conclude, I'm not going to stick to this slide. Here is the team that has mainly worked on the project. KPMG has also been engaged in the Blue Crab project in Italy, but I want to focus on this slide by Ms. Krokida. Unfortunately, she was ill and she couldn't attend the conference. But among the academic community, there is great knowledge around this issue and how we can manage invasive species such as toadfish, lionfish. These actions were undertaken by Greek universities under the funding of the EU. So everybody sitting around the same table can do its part, their part. Identify the problem and taking action. Organized action to handle it, because we want our habitats to remain as they are. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to say something very quickly. I come from Colombia. I'm half Greek, half Colombian. And in Colombia, lionfish is present, has been present for some years, much more compared to the Mediterranean. It came to Florida and then started invading the Caribbean Sea. When it arrived to Colombia, there was a huge problem that many fish disappeared. Fishermen could not find the same quantities as in the past because they hadn't understood the problem with the lionfish. They did something. They did something which turned out to be very successful. A big campaign with a chef, and they raised awareness among the public and among churchgoers around Easter in all churches. They started organizing festivals and it became trendy. Everybody would like to taste the lionfish, and they've managed to control the lionfish population, and they have now data. They have collected data on the populations of the fish, and they did well. They did really good with this fish, which means that we can implement, we can adjust their model to our context in order to have to develop a market, a frozen market, to give it to supermarkets, give it to chemical industries, to cosmetics industries, or even pet food, because it's full of O3, which is very omega-3, which is very important. This is why the National Technical University of Athens has developed this study to see how this product transformation can take place, so we can learn from the Caribbean Sea as well, from the Caribbean countries, not only the other Mediterranean countries. It's like a knowledge transfer project. Thank you. Over the past years, we see it more and more, precisely because it is a predator and there are no predators for lionfish. As you can understand, their population grows. This is why it is important to have some data as well. Data on the population and the size. Because it's clear that when it gets bigger, it will be even more difficult for its natural, very few predators to hunt it.